as a rambunctious, dirty child, little dirty boy, I would play in the dirt with a collection of toys that I had. Biker Mice from Mars, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I think my favourite and probably the most grotesque was Ghostbusters. The Ghostbusters toys were insane, disgusting creatures. That's the only way I can describe them, really. Just disgusting creatures.
Killer! It's pretty gross! I hear ya!
The cartoon show had finished, and I think I had hand-me-downs from my cousins of these grotesque toys. Amazing. Okay. Then, at the ripe age of about 7 or 8, I think, Extreme Ghostbusters was brought onto the scene. A Saturday morning cartoon that was too dark, much more darker than it needed to be. Extreme Ghostbusters was a spin-off of the original Ghostbusters cartoon, which was obviously a spin-off of the movie, which is common of this time for some reason, where they do cartoons, kids cartoons of adult stuff. I think there was a Rambo cartoon.
Rambo, the force of freedom.
There definitely was a RoboCop cartoon.
RoboCop.
And another one that I do want to cover, and is linked to this slightly, is a Men in Black cartoon. We're not covering that right now, though. We're talking about the Extreme Ghostbusters. Extreme Ghostbusters had a darker tone than the original Ghostbusters cartoon, the real Ghostbusters, and has nothing to do with a monkey. Had a darker tone and a much more diverse cast. It really stood out in the 90s as a product of its time during the animation boom. It did get to cover some more darker things, as I mentioned, including stuff like anti-Semitism, racism, ableism.
Yeah, well, at least I have a foot. One that works to insert.
A bunch of... It ran the gambit of isms. For a cartoon of its time, very rarely heard of. Produced by Jeff Klein and Richard Reynes, and animated by the studio who did the Men in Black cartoon. Which you can tell. Once you know that fact, it's very easy to tell that they did that job. It tried to introduce the gritty style of Batman Beyond and kind of, I think, went a bit too far with it. It's much more gritty than maybe it's not. Maybe it's not as gritty as Batman Beyond story-wise, but the art style is definitely, and the ghosts 100% are a lot more gritty than anything that came from Batman Beyond. In my memory, it had the big thing that everybody talked about is how diverse the cast was, which is great. It's a great thing to be able to talk about. We've got a slew of characters. Eduardo Riviera, Kylie Griffin, who's a standout like goth girl, explains a lot to us. It's a bit obvious. Roland Jackson and Garrett Miller, who was the jock wheelchair user. The thing about this is everybody who has a stereotype in this, they're just the opposite. The wheelchair user is very jockish. The Hispanic character is like anti-superstition.
You believe in ghosts?
The goth girl is very cheery. Just everybody is just whatever roles these people normally fill, flipped on their head. We also get a couple of recurring characters from the old show. Egon Spengler's back, now a teacher at the university. He's stoked. He's so happy because instead of 2 people joining his class last year, there is now 4.
Nice turnout. Double the class size I had last semester.
Which we all know is the right number of Ghostbusters. We have Janine from the show and the movie. The will they won't they relationship is still going.
Janine?
I've become a big fan of continuing education.
It's been 10 years. One of yous get over it or get under it. You can choose which one you want to do. And obviously, it can't be Ghostbusters without Slimer. There is now 4 movies, 2 TV shows, 100% Slimer. Maybe 110% Slimer. And it was all show-run by a guy called Bob Higgins. The show began with a double-parter. All good shows start with a double-parter, like a 2-parter. Lost did it. Other shows that I can't think of off the top of my head did it. I'm sure they did, but Lost did it. That's important. It's the stage-setting show, obviously. This is where we meet Ego again, still voiced by the original Ego, who has I think it's Brain. Brain does the same voice. You can't, once you know it's Brain, you know it's Brain. You can't get it out of your head. The opening credits start off, we're thrown straight in. They're drilling in New York, obviously, as these things go, in another tunnel. Ghostbusters love tunnels. There's 2 things that we know we love. And they let out a demon woman with snake arms. We get to see the ghost. There is no hiding the sausage. There's no hide the sausage in this. We are directly in with a ghost. We see the ghost. And then I say, Ego, we meet Ego's class now. The guys I already mentioned in the opening. Eduardo is a skeptic. Is probably the best way I can explain it. Kylie believes in the supernatural. Her mother or grandmother has been trying to contact her from the great beyond, or at least that's what she believes. Roland Jackson, he is a tech wizard, big fan of Ego because he wants to know how the machines work. He's like a tech nerd. And Garrett Miller is the jock. All three of them, except Eduardo, are there because they believe in ghosts. Eduardo, it's an easy A. Not the movie, but it's meant to be like an easy breeze through university thing. They're all there. They're all filling out the roles from the original Ghostbusters, which is like a thing through the entire show where he keeps calling Ego keeps calling the other characters by the movie characters' names.
I can handle this, Ray!
I am not Ray!
And it's I just said it's we're a different team. You're not, you're the same team. The Hispanic guy's got this habit as well of saying the most horrendous thing you can. He insults the guy in the wheelchair.
Yeah, well, at least I have a foot. One that works.
He insults the goth girl multiple times.
You could stand to put on a couple of pounds.
Kylie, just every time they're on screen together, he's insulting her.
I'm trying to put on a couple of pounds.
Not a great look for him. But Kylie goes to Ego's, as part of like a school trip, they go to the firehouse. And Kylie looks at all the stuff. She knows what all of it's called and takes like a beacon. She thinks that's going to be able to summon her grandmother so she can talk to her grandmother. That obviously goes horrible wrong. And Kylie is possessed. That is the cliffhanger of episode 1. You've got to, keep on watching scenario. Episode 2 is predominantly them about becoming Ghostbusters. These old crap machines can no longer be the Ghostbusters. We need an update. We need more colour. First and foremost, we need a little bit more texture. How are we going to sell toys with these ugly things? And toys they will sell. So they get a redesign. To be honest with you, they're pretty cool. For some reason, Kylie gets like a new outfit, like a full. She's got like a rugby player thing. Everybody else just looks normal except for the wearing the Ghostbusters onesies and cool guns and the backpack. Everybody else just gets normal shit. They meet up with Kylie, and Eduardo just says some of the most out of pocket shit to her.
Back off, Eduardo! Why? She's legal.
He says some of the most heinous stuff I can imagine to this woman. But she's possessed, so it doesn't count. They do a big upgrade sequence, and now they kick the living daylights out the ghost. Easy peasy, as these shows should. Okay, it's only got, they're 20 minutes episodes, okay? They gotta really get in, get out, wrap it up quick. There is 40 of these episodes. I'm not gonna cover them all, obviously. That was more an important one, because I think the introduction episode tends to be one of the more important episodes. The thing with this show is it is a proof that as we've grown up with Ghostbusters, or at least especially that I've grown up with Ghostbusters had the choice to grow up with us. And I think we have proof of that with the original Ghostbusters movie. It's a bit tongue-in-cheek. I think as a kid you can watch it. The first show is very child-friendly. Everybody's wearing colourful outfits, so you can tell the difference. Everybody's hair is giant. Garfield does the voice of Venkman. Bloody Slimer is done by, I think it's done by the guy who does the voice of Pooh, Jim Cummings. I think that's who it is. It grew up with the, even now with the new movies, the two movies that came out now, they're nostalgia bit. They're just there to take the money out your wallet. They're nostalgia bit. And that's what this show was for. It was to take the money out your pocket. They brought out toys. They brought out backpacks. You could cosplay as them. You could, if you were a 13-year-old boy, Kylie. If you're into goth girls, Kylie. Sorted. Even look at this art. Look at this. Some of this. This is official spin-off graphic novel art. Look at it. But the show didn't last very long. One of my favorite episodes, which really shows off the characters and what they were good at, was the Sphinx, which is about. It's one of the darker tone ones, and it kind of really shows the team off as what each character can do. We are skipping forward through a lot of the season. I think this is like episode 37. It's pretty near the end, and it immediately opens with a piss joke.
What does a man do standing up, a woman sitting down, and a dog on 3 legs?
So maybe that's why it's my favorite episode. It immediately opens with a piss joke.
Shakes hands.
We're introduced to this Sphinx. The ghosts in this aren't always gross. There's a leprechaun in one of the episodes. There's a ghost there's like a Sphinx in this episode. And it's the whole answer the riddle thing, okay? And each character just sort of has to play dumb. Because if you answer the riddle wrong, it will suck your brain out. Okay, you make you a big dummy. When I was watching this episode or rewatching this episode, I thought this was like a commentary on people who were using the internet too much or watching too much TV, the idiot box scenario, and it wasn't that. But the whole episode is about them looking up to Ego. Okay, they've grown to see Ego as a bit of a Egon. They've grown to see Egon as a bit of a father figure, and it's how they look up to Egon. That's what the entire episode is all about. And it's sort of really nice to see the character development. It's really nice to see that character growth. I say it. episode 37 of a 40 episode run. The problem is it never went into syndication, apparently. In the UK, we don't have like syndication. We just repeat things until we're sick of them. But there was no, they didn't get syndication. I think that's one of the reasons they cited it for not getting picked up for another season. That, and it was just too dark for the TV. They just weren't ready for it, man. But in a couple of years, your kids are gonna love it. And is that the line from Back to the Future?
I guess you guys aren't ready for that yet.
Revisiting the show, and I'm getting through it slowly but surely. I knew there was a couple of episodes that I remembered as a kid, so I rewatched them specific episodes. I watched one with Slimer. Episode 3 stood out as well. So what episode 1 and 2 are amazing. Episode 3 stands out because it's all about anti-Semitism. Honestly, that's all it was about. Anti-Semitism is rife in New York, apparently. There was just a goal. Just having a child show that did an entire episode about anti-Semitism, racism. This is all in episode 3, by the way. They did a section on racism. There's a section on anti-Semitism. A little bit of ableism sprinkled in there, just so it tick all the boxes. They really needed to make sure that you knew that they were going to go for the jugular for a kids' TV show. And that's insane to me that this show could do that in 1997. It came out in October 1997, and somehow they were able to get away with this stuff. The show doesn't get the love that I think it needs. It's one of the best. It's one of the best Ghostbusters media out there, in my opinion. Should have been used as proof of concept for a sequel for Ghostbusters, that other teams can come in unconnected from the original team. Doesn't have to be related, nothing of that nature. It's not like a hand-me-down family thing. Just another team of Ghostbusters can step in. And I think people just weren't ready for it at the time. The nostalgia wasn't refined enough. We needed that gap stop. And maybe a bad Ghostbusters movie in there. But we needed that gap stop for people to breathe and sort of miss Ghostbusters. And I think that's what we got with the newer Ghostbusters movies, the Ant-Man Ghostbusters movies. I think we got that. I would like, if you've got the chance, to go and watch Extreme Ghostbusters. It is, if you're a Ghostbusters fan especially, it is a love letter to the Ghostbusters universe almost, and a really good teaching tool for the hellscape that we live in at the moment. But yeah, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like. I have nothing to sell you this week. Follow my Twitch. Sorry. Bye bye.